Welcome to Wednesday's session. So, what I want to do today was kind of slow down a little bit and go through creation of a simple bonus plan, and we'll do it from start to finish, and then actually launch the process as well. Yesterday, I showed you guys a real-world example, and it was very complicated. And there was a lot of profiles in it and a lot of rules, and it was because there's a lot of stuff there. It was very confusing. So today I'm going to do just basically a very simple one, and we'll go through it, and then we'll launch the process, and there will be some troubleshooting as well, because it's going to be set up in a way where there's going to be some employee data is not going to be as expected. So we'll have to try to find the root cause of why the numbers are showing up the way they are. Okay. So, before we create any bonus plans, say you're new to a company and they give you the requirements, but before you actually work on it, you have to know the population that's in the system, right? You have to run a report, so you're aware of what kind of data is in the system. You're aware of the employee profiles. So the first thing you probably want to do is either look for an existing report or create a report that has the data for all of the employees and continued workers in the company and their compensation data, as well as have another report that has all of the compensation elements like bonus plans, whether they have grades or job profiles and job family groups. That should be probably your first task, is to get to know the population and get to know the configuration. So before we create a plan for HR, let's run a report, and let's see what kind of population we have as far as the HR employees. In this tenant, this is a testing tenant by Workday. I don't know every single configuration in here, and there's a lot of people who are using this, and they have created employees or supervisory hierarchies, etc. So if I were to create a plan in here, the first thing I'd like to do is get to know the population. Obviously, if we run the population for everybody, for the whole company, it will be too much to analyze. So today, let's just select a small group. Let's just say the HR folks, and run the data for them. So how did I identify the HR folks? Well, first I logged in as Joy Banks, because looking at the org chart, I saw that she was in HR. You could type org chart here, or you could also go to her profile, and then you could see the org chart. And by the way, the org chart is a effective dated. So when you run it by default, it's the data as of current, but you could always run org chart as of, and then you could get the data as of a particular date. So looking at the org chart, I realized that Joy Banks was the head of HR, and these were her employees. And then I searched the system for any compensation related report, and I found one. Okay. So RM compensation issue, I'll just always put my initials in front of the report name. And then I ran it for Joy Banks. So this report gave me 20 employees, but I know from that org chart, there's actually like 40 HR employees. But I think this is because I'm only selecting the, there might be some folks who are not directly under Joy Banks, they might be under another leader, but they're also HR employees. And here in this report, I made sure I got a supervisor, I got the senior leader. I needed the job profile in case any rule needs to be based on the job profiles. So I need to know what is the format of the job profiles in the system. I added the column job family because a lot of the roles are based on job family. So I needed to know what job families exist in the system for these employees. And if they're currently on any kind of bonus plan assignment, I added the bonus plan assignment details field. So I could see most of the folks already have one or two bonus plans. And then we have the compensation grade in there, because a lot of times grade is used for a lot of the roles. And we have their current salary. And from a prior business process, what the prior proposed bonus was. So I basically created this report so I know what job families there are and job profiles. And then I needed a group that was small enough so that when we launch bonus, it's easy to understand the data. So I needed a small enough group. Okay, so I'm going to leave this tab open, and we're going to create a bonus plan for HR. So I just did this right before the session, but I'll do another one right now. Let me duplicate this tab. Joybanks may not have that access, so I'm going to start proxy as one of the other HR folks. Logan, start proxy. Logan McNeil. She is the one who's used in all of the trainings, and we know that she has HR administrator and compensation access. Okay. So it's always important that when you proxy in as someone, make sure that they have the proper security and the user groups assigned. So now I could type create bonus plan. Only if I could spell it right. So I'm going to do 0101 2019, and it's typically a bonus-based or percent-based plan. Compensation element is what takes this data to payroll, if there was payroll data, and we're going to use the incentive component. Okay. And this plan is going to be based on their base pay. So whatever percent, the target percent of this plan is going to be against the base pay. I'm going to select base. We do want to allow target override, and we're not going to hide the target. And then as far as target percent, let's just say by default, everyone's going to get a 10% target. And let's make this a quarterly plan. And let's do a time proration rule. So there's a couple of proration rules already. I'm going to choose the one that says bonus proration rule. And if I click on the related action, we'll see what makes up that rule. Okay. So in this case, the plan prorates for hire date times, so it's got two proration criteria, time since hire, and then base pay changes during period. So based on these two criteria, it will adjust the bonus target based on their hire date, and if there is any salary changes within that period. Okay. For eligibility rules, since we wanted this for HR only, we need to create an eligibility rule that's similar to the one that I created over here for this plan. So it's going to say, let's based on, since it's for HR, let's create it for the job family of HR folks. So let me review this. So I created a compensation rule, which was based on the job family group, and any job family group that's in human resources. So I'll just create one like that right now. Okay. And remember the task name to create compensation rule. We just simply create comp rule. Create compensation eligibility rule. Create compensation rule. Since we know that all of the HR folks are within the job family called HR, so I could just type job family. I'm sorry, job family group. Okay. So job family and job family group shows up. And we'll pick everybody who's in the human resources. All the other ones seem like they're some, custom ones, but these seems to be the ones that was delivered by Workday. So I'm going to click OK. Okay, so this will filter on everybody who's in human resources, whoever falls into those two groups. Okay, so we got the eligibility rule, and we have the default percent, default target percent. So at this point, I'm going to click OK. So at least the data up to this point gets saved, because a lot of times in this server, it does disconnect. So I want to go ahead and save what I got so far, and then I'll go back to it and edit and add more info to it. I do want to check the include active employees assigned during process period. And I do want to create a benefit plan profile, some type of a value that says perhaps, someone in the United States, their target will be 5%. And we can see that everybody else, their target will be 10%. But let's create a profile that says, hey, if someone's in the US, their target should be 5%. So before I actually do that, I want to roll this out so we can see the process of actually rolling it out, and then we'll see that everybody who got this plan is going to show that they got 10%. And then when we add a bonus plan profile and we say US folks will get 5%, then we'll update it here. And then when we pull the employee data, we'll see that if it was a US employee, their target will change on their profile without having to roll it again. Okay, so I'm going to roll this out. Let me click OK to save that checkbox. I'm going to select roll out plan to employees. And I'm going to give the process a name. And then give it a name that's easy to remember so that after we're done rolling it out, then we could view it so we could see who it got rolled out to. So I'm going to say V2 rolling out HR bonus plan. And I'm going to use the effective date 01/01/2019. If this is a plan that we want to have on their profile for 2019 as well. And then we're going to select appropriate reason. And so looking through this, request comp change incentive, assign bonus. So that seems to be the proper reason for it. and it defaulted the compensation plan that we created. And I'm not going to bother with the expected end date or actual end date. That's now relevant to rolling out the bonus plan. And here we have compensation eligibility rule. We could roll it out based on we could roll this out based on the rule that we created, which was basically the HR job family. What do we call that? HR. So this plan will get rolled out to everybody who's in the HR job family. Yes, it actually makes sense to use the same rule, right? So we're basically defining who is going to be rolled out at the employee level, and then we're also intentionally just rolling it out just to that population. I could have selected all of the US, but then it will look at all the US, and then it will have to filter that down based on the eligibility rule in the plan. So why not just use that same rule over here? And once I roll this out, then for those people who are on leave, then I will come back to this task again. And if you want to start the task from the search bar, it's just called roll out compensation plan. And for those who are going to be on leave, then don't select anything in the rule, but select them as individually by putting in their name in this field. All right, so I'm going to click OK and start the process to roll this out. Okay, it's completed. It's completed a little too fast. So I'm kind of worried, did it really actually get assigned to anybody? So I'm going to use view rollout process. So the name that I called this one was, let me just copy it so I can paste it again. View compensation plan rollout process. And then I have to enter the name that I used. It only assigned the plan to 2 people, and it did not assign it to 44 people. And I bet is because they had something in their profiles, like because I had rolled out the plan earlier and I had launched a bonus. So let me look at those people who it did not get rolled out to. Yeah, this is the same people who already have a plan. So if I look at their profile, let me go to their compensation page. Okay. So the one that I created earlier, I just rolled it out a few minutes ago, but then I launched bonus. So now they're in the bonus process, and that's why it's now another bonus plan is not getting rolled while they're in that bonus process. So which is fine. We'll just use the plan that I created earlier to launch bonus. But this is an important task. Not this one. Yeah, this one. The view compensation plan rollout process. So it will tell you who the plan got assigned to and who the plan did not get assigned to. So this helps audit that did you get everybody. and then you could actually download that list and compare it against who should have gotten this plan. You could also create a report, like the one that we saw earlier that had everybody's name, employee number, and the plan they have. Because when you look at it this way, this does not have an employee number, so the auditing becomes a little bit difficult without the employee number. I launched bonus process already based on this plan. So there's already another step in their transaction. So when a merit or a bonus plan, when the process has been launched, while it's open, you cannot roll out another plan to them. I have to pull this screen a little bit down because at the top of the server's numbers are kind of preventing it for me to see the top of the screen. So I'm going to go to the plan that we were creating, edit, edit bonus plan. To the 2 employees that did get that plan, maybe I could use them to show the change in profile rule. So, because of this person, this person is terminated, so it's not going to make a difference. Okay. Yeah, never mind. So my goal was that by default, they would show 10% on their comp profile. And then when we added a particular rule, those who met that rule, they would get this new target. So I'm going to say I'm going to give 5% to anybody who's in like the US country. We could say country equals United States. And the compensation basis is still going to be total base pay. So this forces everybody in the US to have 5%, and then everybody else 10%. Okay. So while we cannot roll out a plan while the bonus process is in session, but you could launch bonus again even though one bonus is still in session. So this really helps in testing. So I'm going to use this plan. This one, keep in mind, this one also has a 10%, but this one was annual. It's got the same proration rule and same job family setup as the eligibility rule. And for the US, it's got 5%. So when we actually launch it, we'll verify that the US employees are getting 5% and everybody else is getting 10%. So we could initiate it from the actions, and we could also type initiate from the Workday search menu. So compensation review, initiate. That's weird. Let me pull up that plan again and okay, there we go. Normally we should create a template which just default in these dates. So if you're going to do testing over and over, this helps to create a template and then put in the dates there, and then you just select the template. But since I'm just going to launch it one time, I'm just going to enter the dates here directly. So I'm running it for last year. We're going to say we're going to launch. The requirement is that we're going to roll out bonus plan to the HR folks for the period of 2019. So they're going to be reviewed based on their performance in 2019. And that date that will be effective for their pay date for their bonus pay in the system, that's the effective date. So we're going to say that's going to be March 1st of this year. Okay. Employee visibility date, it could be same as the effective date. No, it has to be after the effective date, or we could leave it blank to use the effective date. So and remember I said we're going to do this for 2019. So the process period end date, it should not be March 1st. It should be December 31st, 2019. And then the organization snapshot date, which determines the employees and who their manager is, we're going to get the manager as of December 31st. So the process will be rolled out to whoever the manager of that employee was as of December 31st, 2019, not the current manager in case they're different. And we're going to use a bonus grid. There's one existing called merit grid with bonus. It doesn't have a lot of fields in it, so it's easy to kind of do an analysis on it. Okay, and then we click OK. There's another screen. We have to do some more configuration. Okay, we have to give it a name. So 2019 HR bonus. Reference currency is usually the currency of wherever the headquarters is. So companies in the US is going to be USD. Compensation review options. It looks scary, but all it is it means select the reports as you want to show when you launch the process. And I'll show you what those are because I created a test template. So it, by default, Workday tells you that for people who are participating, which report is going to show them the data. And this is by default. It doesn't get changed. So it's just more of a, it just shows like, okay, this is when we see the data in the grid, or when we search for it, these are the reports that are run in the background. We should not change them. We leave them as is. There's never been a reason to change these. So it's there by default. We're going to launch it to a supervisory organization type. I could have selected a cost center organization type if we wanted to launch it just to particular cost centers. But I wanted to typically it's launched on the supervisory organizations. And since we're just launching it for bonus, I did not select hide on bonus. I selected hide on everything else except merit and bonus target. So when we see the grid, the columns for these 3 items will still be visible, but the columns for additional adjustment or promotion or lump sum or commission target will not be visible. And I've also hidden stock and stock target. We do have to select a review template, whether or not a company is using performance reviews. If they're not using it, remember we have to create a fake template because that is a required field. There's no way around it. And we use the overall delivered rating scale. Here we tell the system that for the bonus plan, now when the data is actually entered into the employee profile, what date it's going to use and what reason it's going to show, like why did this compensation change happen. It's going to be under the one-time payment of the incentive category, and then it's going to be incentive bonus. The next field is include employees terminated during the process period. So I'm going to leave that unchecked. So anybody who was terminated during the process period, I do not want to include them. So I leave this blank. Allow bonus award autofill. I'm going to leave that as yes. And since it was an annual plan, it just shows that number days in the process period, which is 365. So I'm going to go ahead and submit. Okay. Now we're going to review any employees who may have a conflicting transaction. Okay. We see that there is one transfer that's pending and one termination that needs to be approved. So you basically, let your HR partner or the comp partner know about these 2 people, and then they will connect with the people who's waiting on, and they could approve the transaction and get it out of the way and get it resolved. Workday allows you to select them and send a notification, but I don't think it's a good idea. I usually just go through HR partner or the comp partner to talk directly with whom the transaction is bidding on. So I'm not going to send a notification through Workday. I'm just going to cancel that. We could have selected a termination rule. For the people who termed during the process period, which is going to be in 2019, we already selected that at the previous screen. But how we want to treat the people who terminated after the process period, up until now, which would be from the January to now, we could have selected a rule that says, hey, if they're terminated, then do not include them. But by default, if they're terminated between December 31st and now, they will be part of the process, but there will, in parentheses, it will say terminated when a manager looks at their folks. So I'm going to not mess with that, so we can just keep it simple, and we're going to hit finalize, and then submit. Okay. There's a couple of steps. So now it's going to go to the compensation administrator. Logan McNeil, the one unboxing us, she does have the compensation administrator role. So I just have to go to her inbox. So we're on the configure pools. This is the same screen whether we're doing merit or bonus. We already went through what's top down and bottom up yesterday. And if you click on review plan funding, you could see for this plan, what is the total pool amount? And this is based on 100% funding. What happened here? Event content, merit review, event for manage. Okay, so those people who are impacted, let me clear them out. I hope that's what that error is. Okay, so far it's allowing me to get past that. And I'm going to hit submit. And there's a couple more steps, so let me keep refreshing the inbox. Okay, so now it's going to send the distribution pool step for each organization. So here is sending me the data for this manager and for Olivia Pope's folks, and it's saying that, hey, 2,230 is the budget for her org, and as the comp administrator, do you approve? So this gives a chance for the comp administration or the Workday person to adjust the bonus amount. So for her org, I'm going to say go to final review, and then we'll get the same step for all of the orgs that are within HR. So there's going to be a couple of items in the inbox that'll be coming for each manager's org. Okay. So up next, we have to go back to the distribute pool, and it's going to be for the next organization within HR. So this is for Santosh Test Organization. Someone probably just created this as for testing, but anybody in that org, this plan has been rolled out. But since there was no eligible people in this organization, there's no budget assigned. So let me submit that. I'm going to have to do this a couple times. You have to do 3 clicks for each organization. Okay, so now this is for John Cena's org, and we see that there's one position in there, and this is their budget. So I'm going to go ahead and do a review of that one. On that previous screen, I do have the option of adjusting it, which is something the comp administrator will do. I think most of the folks are under the global modern services. So it shows over here that under that org, there's two more. There's executive management, which has 38 folks, and then the ABC company, which has one person. So I'm not going to make any changes, but I'll go ahead and click on final review. And then I'll submit. Okay, so I think that's all the orgs that I had to go through. And I'm going to click on done. So let me go back to the inbox. And now in the inbox, there was an item that says launch the award proposals. It just shows me the total pool amount, if there was any holdback, if there was any reserve. Since there was no holdback or reserve, all these numbers are in all the columns are the same. Since that's the full budget, and I'm going to go ahead and launch it. So now it's going to give us the control page where we could see like how many managers have submitted or not. And if there was a manager who, for example, he may have termed and there's no new manager for that org, since this is test data, there may not have been something updated. In that case, this process will go into what's called like reassign step. Like you have to go to that and see why it did not get assigned to any manager, and then manually assign it to someone. But that usually happens if there's a manager is not available as of December 31st. Okay. So here we see for the compensation review process 2019 HR bonus control page. This shows us the overall budget and how much has been spent. So since we just launched it, no money has been spent. And it's been launched to 20 supervisory organizations with none completed so far. And if we click on the details, these are all the dates that we selected, like basically all the configuration details. And then remember the employee participation, if you need to add or remove someone, you do it from the employee participation tab. And this is the same whether you're doing it for merit or you're doing it for bonus. So add employee to the process or remove employee from the process. So you do it from these, from that navigation step. Okay. As Logan, she could search on employees and see who, see everybody who's this plan has been rolled out to. So there's 42 people, everybody in HR, and it's been rolled out to them. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in as the top manager for the HR organization, and let's look at it how she sees the rollout of the process. So far we've been looking at it from, from Workday support person or from HR, like this is what they see. But let's look at it from the manager's perspective. So I'm going to proxy as, I believe one of the names was Joy Banks. So let me proxy as her. Let me go to her inbox. So we see in her inbox the employee salary plan rollout, and it says switch account to view this delegated item. So anything that says on behalf of Logan, she cannot view it, when we're in proxy mode. You have to log in directly as Joy to see. But the overall plan, she should be able to see. So we clicked on the one that's went directly to her, not on behalf of somebody else. So she sees the full budget, and then she sees the pool summary. It says here for the human resources main organization, this is the topmost organization. And if she wanted to see what are the suborgs underneath this, she could click on this icon. If she wanted to see everybody who's like all the employees in one big list, she could click on this. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And sometimes it's easier to just click on it so they could see all the employees that are in that organization rather than have to go through each org by org. So there's under Joy, there's 30 workers. And we're looking at the summary tab. So the summary tab only has the bonus percent and the bonus amount. And notice this is read only. So even as the top leader, she cannot enter anything because we're in the view mode. And the managers below her, they have not done the proposals yet. So she cannot do the edit. Under the bonus tab, there's a lot more columns regarding bonus. And then she can also see the panel that's on the right-hand side. And performers would have their rating if there was one. So that was just to see one long list of everybody in her org. Okay, so I'm back on the pool summary. This pencil is the icon like you click on for, like, this is what the manager would click on in order to do proposals for their directs, and only their directs they will be eligible for until the manager below them have submitted it. So if I click on here, if she has any direct folks, they would show up in that list. So we see that she has four employees who report directly to her. So then we could give them a bonus percentage. I do want to, before I give that bonus percentage from the summary tab, I wanted to look at their data from the bonus tab. And we see that for Robert, his discretionary target is 5%, but we see for Henry is 10%. And obviously, this is based on the eligibility rules that we, the profiles that we had. We said anybody in the US will get 5%, and everybody else will get 10%. So if I pull up his data, we'll see that he's not in the US. So when this data shows up and we go to the compensation page, actually we just need to go to the summary page and we'll see that he is, we'll see which country he's in. Yeah, from his location, I see that he's in Toronto, so he should be on 10%. And sure enough, he's on 10%. Robert should be in US. Well, his location is not easy to find somewhere. So I'll just look at his contact tab. Okay, so his home address is US, but we actually want the work address. And yeah, sure enough, the work address is also US. And this is Robert. Okay, so that's why Robert is on 5%. So everybody in the US, their discretionary target is 5%. And so instead of having to do all of this individually, this is where this autofill comes in. It's handy for testing. If we select autofill, it'll enter the 5% value, but you'll notice that it's not always exactly 5%. It's going to be the target percent based on the total amount. So they may get like 4.99. It will distribute the total amount based on the number of headcounts. So it's not going to be 5% here and then 10% or 5%, but it might be like 4.99 or 10.01. So the only useful purpose of the autofill is it helps in testing. So when you're testing, you don't have to click through every single one to populate it. When the manager is actually doing the proposal, they really should not use autofill. But by using autofill, it did give everybody a bonus target that was 100% of their of the pool. So we see that 38,281.52 has been used out of 38,281.52. So all of it has been used. So we see that it's not always even. So like really, there's no particular logic like why this person got 2.9%, except that fact that it looks at the total pool and then tries to distribute it. So if I give this person like 5%, like that was the intent, then we're going to probably go over by a certain amount. So we see that this turned red. And I'm going to go ahead and click continue. So out of the overall budget, it does show that now 44,000 has been used out of this budget. And we're back on the pool summary tab. So remember, we were logged in as the top manager, Joy Beck. She's I believe she's one of the leaders in the HR org. And she had 4 direct people she was able to propose for. But there's 30 people, and she's not able to propose for everybody else. She cannot do that until the people below her have submitted. Or the alternative is she could go to the actions right here, and she could pull out organization that's below her. She could pull one of the sub-orgs, and she's going to say, hey, I'm not going to wait any longer. I want to go ahead and propose comp for my organizations. So what this will do, it will pull the organization that's below her to her level. And before a manager does that, you want to make sure that you train the managers, or as part of your training material, you tell the managers, hey, if you're going to use this functionality, communicate with your sub managers that you're going to pull the organization from their inbox and you're going to bring it into your inbox, because Workday is not going to send any notification to them. So if the manager pulls it and then they go into their inbox, they're not going to see the compensation review step in the inbox, and they're going to wonder like, oh, what happened? So so as part of training, it should be, reviewed with, as part of the training materials that, hey, communicate to your organizations below them if you're going to pull the data. So I'm going to choose propose compensation for my orgs. Let me go ahead and submit this. Okay. So it says all subordinate organizations need to be in status of submitted or manually advanced to continue. So until the managers below her, there were not just like her direct one, there's like multiple levels. So I cannot pull them yet to submit. If we wanted to search for some employee, we could search from here. And let me see if I can find someone who's terminated. Yeah. Okay. So going to Joy's inbox for the 2019 HR process for her direct pulls, we do see that because we did submit for her direct org, we have spent a little bit of the budget of the whole thing. Okay, so this is what the manager sees. So we're going to, this will be a good point to take a break, and then when we come back in 10 minutes, we'll do a little bit more on this, and then we'll end the class a little bit earlier than yesterday. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to go out mute for this time. I priced it as login, and I went to the comp review, and I was reviewing the data for some of these folks, and I noticed under the bonus tab, the discretionary target is 0%. So that's not an expected value, right? Our expected values for everybody was either 5% or 10%. So now we need to find out, okay, how come they don't have that appropriate value? So this is kind of like a troubleshooting task. So first, there is one report available that helps, that tells, like we use to see how the bonus is calculated. So let me pull up John Nix's data, and let me see who his manager is, and then we'll find out why he has a 0% target when it should have been either 5 or 10%. Okay, so his manager is Logan. They're in consulting services. And let me see if that plan did get assigned to John or not. Okay, so the plan for HR has been assigned, and it does say 10%. So the assignment is correct. What is going on? So I'm going to stay at this screen so you guys could kind of look at it as well, and try to think about why would it show 0% as the discretionary target when it should have been 10% of the total base pay. I see the reason, but I'm not going to speak about it right now. But assuming if I didn't see the reason, if I needed to research further, I'll go to their job history, and I want to make sure that the bonus plan did get assigned to them. So I'm going to go to job history. Worker history, and I'm going to go to effective January 1st, 2019, because that's when I rolled out the plan with that effective date. And I'm going to try to find which of these events was the one that allowed me to roll the plan out to him. So I see a comp change, effective date January 1st, 2019, and it was initiated today. So this is, all of these could be the ones that rolled out the plan to him. So I'm going to open up this event so I could verify that the plan did in fact get rolled out to this person. Okay, so if I look at the details of this event, I see that it has an effective date of January 1st, 2019, as expected. And this was a plan assignment change. And the bonus plan did get assigned with the correct bonus percent. So this employee did get this plan. So, okay, that was a good check. It worked out. Okay, so I still need to figure out why it's showing up as 0. So if it was a 0 or if it was a value that's different than expected, then there is a report. It's called bonus calculation. And this report shows how Workday calculates this particular person's bonus. So we use view bonus calculation. We enter the compensation review process that we're using. So I believe it's the 2019 HR bonus. The organization was Logan McNeil's. And we saw from looking at the employee's data that he's in the consulting services Asia Pac region. So we select that. And then we select the person we want to see the data about. So it was John. And then the bonus plan. Okay. So we click OK. And now Workday will show us how it calculated the numbers. So right off the bat, everything is 0, 0, 0. Actual bonus amount is also 0, 0, 0. And if there was any prorations, they will be listed here. Like if there was an FTE proration, if there was a target percent for the period. So there's no prorations because everything is like 100%, 100%. And I see that there's no, there's no proration at all. So I'm still wondering how come it shows up as 0%. And if I look at the snapshot, let me get that out of the way. So this window pops up. It says, hey, the only thing that got assigned to him was this plan, but nothing, there was no other calculations done. Okay, so why is it 0? When we looked at this person's data, like comp data, there was a big clue on this page. Let me go to the comp screen. So when we set up this bonus plan, we said it's going to use the total base pay as the compensation formula. And in our compensation formula, we said we're going to use total base pay. And then the base pay for this employee and then a couple of other people, because that was their start date, base pay has not been entered at all. So 10% of 0, we just calculated it as 0. Now, let's look at someone for whom the value did get, it was correct. So we could see how, in the cases where what the bonus calculation looks like when the data is correct. So let me post someone. Yes, as part of the hire process, it should have been entered. I assume someone just didn't complete this transaction. They created that person as of that date, but haven't gone through the hire, haven't gone through the compensation screen to enter the comp for that person. It could happen if you're rolling it out as of January 1st, and like it's effective January 1st, and the employee starts on, and it's only January 2nd. So, I mean, there's a slight chance it could happen because the hire data has not been completed, but yeah, not likely. So I'm going to pull someone else. So I'm going to see the list of the employees. I'm trying to find someone whose data was correct. Okay, so let's look at Chad Anderson, and we find out which org he's in, because we need that for the bonus calculation screen. Okay, so his manager is Maria, and he's in the benefits org. So we go to bonus calculation. So in this case, it tells us right off the bat, the total bonus target was 42.55 in USD, and then it's got the Australian dollar amount. And so let's go down here. It tells us that from January 1st, 2019 through March 31st, he did have a ad hoc compensation change of this particular amount. So he did have his, he did get salary, and he also had a merit comp change on January 4th. So this new salary is effective January 4th, and his base salary is effective January 1st. So it's going to prorate for that. And if we look at the snapshot, it's just going to repeat that information. Well, the snapshot is not very helpful because it's just all their plans, but it does tell us their salary at the end of the period, and they're on a bonus plan with 5% target. So if you're manually comparing it, you would take their bonus percent, which is 5, take the prorated amount, which is based on the number of days that he had that particular salary, and do the calculation in Excel, and then it should match the proration target amount. So this is a very useful report to see if there was any transfers, or if there were any salary changes, or someone went out of the plan, or they transferred out of one plan into another. All of those events will be listed here, and then it will tell us what the what the salary would be that's affected, or when was the start date, and then so it helps understanding how is Workday coming up with that target amount. So this is very useful report to review. It's called View Bonus Calculation. Okay, so let me go back to our inbox. I'm going to try to get the full list of everybody. I'm going to select all 42 people. and I'm going to click review, and then I'm going to autofill the data for everybody. Or let me just select a couple of people. Okay, we see that a little bit more of the budget has been used because we proposed the bonus for a few more people, and then as you know, assuming that all the managers have submitted, just so that we could go finalize this exercise. You know, even though we didn't submit it as the manager because it would require, you know, doing it at multiple levels and going to the top. I just added the bonus targets for a few people. I think we did about 8 of them, but I'm going to go ahead and finalize the comp process. So it's just a confirmation, and then hit submit. Okay. Okay, so now we see that in progress is 0 and completed is 20. So you only want to finalize when all the audits have been done, because once it's finalized, you cannot go back and rescind the finalization. Like if you have to do it, you would have to start from scratch, and everybody would have to propose brand new. So do not hit that big yellow button until everything is ready to be submitted, and you get a go ahead from compensation or from HR. Let me try to find someone that we did a proposal for, so we could look in their profile and see where the data ended up. And we could sort on these columns. So we sort on descending. Okay. So Chad Anderson and Henry Lynch. Okay. So let me go to his profile, and we can see where that data shows up now. So the tabs that we see on at the top, they're different for every company. Like some companies don't use total rewards, some do. I'm trying to find the tab for one-time payments. So it might be hidden underneath here. Nope. So I'm just going to go under job and worker history and try to find the transaction from there. Okay, so all of the compensation related changes are under this tab. And then there's also a section for one-time payments or bonus payments. So it should be below this. So let me look at the because this is the 2019 HR bonus. Remember, we did two different processes. So one of them is still open and one of them is closed. Let me make sure I close the one that we worked on. I'm going to go ahead and close this one as well, the RM 2019 bonus review, because I'm getting confused, like which one did the proposal on, because there was two of them in the inbox. I'm going to finalize this one with the confirm button. Okay. So it's taking us to the release compensation review statement step. The statements have not been set up, but I was hoping I could finalize it before that. That's why I said it depends on the setup. If they're using the delivered statements, then it's taking us to this step. If they're using the Workday Studio Word reports, then this step would not exist. So let me see if I could bypass this and still finalize this. Let me do the same for the 2019 HR bonus process. My goal is actually just to finalize the process so we can see the data in the employee's profile. Okay, so nothing else showed up in the inbox. So hopefully now the data shows up for that person. Okay, let me scroll down to the bonus area. Okay, so here we see under bonus payments, effective date March 1st. Reason that we selected when we launched it, we selected incentive bonus, and the plan is, so this person got 10% due to this plan. And since we had actually launched it twice, we only gave, but we only submitted bonus through one of the processes, but we finalized both of them. And that's why there's two entries for the same plan, and this one has 0, and this one has 10%, and the actual amount. So this is where the data shows up after you finalize the process. And the next step would be, to get that statement that the manager has, and they typically print that out and give it to the employee. But this data right here, this 8,500, it still needs to be sent to payroll. So if the company is using Workday payroll, it will be internally sent via the the compensation component the plan had. But if they're using an external one and there's no integration, then you need to create a report and then send the data. So in order to get this data, there's two places you could get it. You could get it from the grid itself, or you could get it from the history. It probably makes more sense to download, create a report from the bonus payments history, because this is where the finalized data is. And in case you need to make any corrections, you can make it here. But since the grid is finalized, you cannot, go back to the grid and do edits. You could go to the bonus process and correct it. So let me try that again. Let me go back to the compensation. We go to the related actions, business process, and correct, in case this number needed to be changed for any reason. So now it's really supposed to be 9,000. And we hit submit. And we have to add a comment. So this information can be corrected. That's usually a question like, oh my God, it's been submitted, how can I change it? So as long as you have the proper access, you could go ahead and correct it in the history. Within that grid, it cannot be corrected. Okay, so with the exception of actually seeing the letter that the manager will, share with the employee, at this point, the process is considered completed and finalized. So aside from that, that's all I wanted to show you within Workday for today.